Hi everyone. Last evening I had a really helpful talk with one of my friends. I was sharing some of the stuff that's been going on in my life, and this led to him asking me 8 really well thought out questions. I want to share these questions with you, and I'm going to answer similar to what I answered last night, although it's easier to speak than typing a lot. But while I do this, I want to ask you to think through what your answers are to these questions. They were specifically revolving around the challenges I have with chronic pain. But when I look around the community, I know that there's people that deal with other issues than chronic pain. So for some of you who don't have the physical challenges I'm dealing with, maybe you could substitute these questions for your specific situation and the biggest challenges that you have in your life. The first sort of statement question was, it sounds like you've been busy despite all the pain. You're really getting creative. I'm sure it helps to have projects to help take the focus off how you feel physically. So part of how I structure my day is by having a few projects to work on, some that I'm able to do at the computer that don't require my legs or hips to be in good shape. So at least there's something that I can do. And then there's 2 or 3 other projects that I work on that all require some effort from my body. And depending on how I'm feeling, I choose which one I'm able to work on. So in other words, there's always something for me to be doing that I enjoy and that's productive for the goals I have for my life. Even with the challenges of pain and even with the physical challenges, you still have all the emotional stuff that goes with life. The times when you're happy, like you're celebrating with a friend, you still feel the loss of friends and pets when they pass away. So, besides that, you need to be able to take care of yourself to handle the stress that comes just from existing with pain or existing with whatever your challenge is. And having 3 or 4 projects that I can work on is a good match for me. The second sort of statement question my friend asked was, it does seem like you're finding what God has for you in the season you're currently in. It's kind of weird. I had grown up and I had entered the workforce and was able to function in terms of my mobility and not living in chronic pain. What's wrong with my body is degenerative. It's not something that's going to quickly be recovered without extensive surgery, and I'm reaching a point where there's now going to be long-term implications to this. So I was part of the workforce initially, instead of maybe someone who was born with cerebral palsy and deals with their whole life. So there was this transition when I was sort of 27 to 30 years old that began to be the end of my mobility, and then the series of hip surgeries. I've seen different people that have had access to things like employment insurance, where there's a certain number of weeks where you receive a percentage of your pay even if you're not working because you were laid off. And I've seen other people sort of waste their retirement and not take advantage of enjoying what gives them joy in life. And that's what my friend was talking about in this sort of statement comment. It's being able to do the things that you're naturally gifted for. In terms of your career, I would like to encourage you to be doing something that you find that's fun and not like you're going to work each day, and where you're able to look forward to the next day at work. And if it's kind of dried out for you, maybe it's time to set your sights on a promotion so that there's a fresh challenge for you in your life. Certainly the things that I've been doing now, using my hands, making the practical tools that help me in my life, like modifying the wheelchair, also supporting the youth that look up to me, and the baking that I'm able to do and making my meals. I all enjoy these activities, and they all ultimately contribute to the quality of life that I have now. And it's been on me to think through what I'm wanting to do with each day and what I'm going to do with my life. The healthcare community sort of sees you as a set of joints. That is, knees, hips, shoulders, ankles, or if you have a psychiatric disability, then they're focused on your mind. You're still a person first and foremost, and you need to have a reason that's going to get you out of bed in the morning and looking forward to the new day. So even if you have a diagnosis, don't forget to still be living your life the most that's possible for you. The third question my friend asked was, why do I enjoy life? I've had the time to think through what I'm wanting to do with my life, and I've been able to be intentional about this. A few years ago, one of my friends said to me that he saw one of the benefits to what I'm going through as having the time to think through and make decisions where he has to get up in the morning, get the kids off to school, and then off to his employment. With this, you're kind of propelled into your retirement years, and then you have to figure out how to fill your days so that your mind remains sharp and you're doing things that you find of value and worth. So again, I really find a great amount of joy in the things I've mentioned, and also nature photography that also really appeals to me. And it's something that I give you to think about what you're doing with your life, and to be asking yourself, why are you doing it? The fourth question is, I know you don't enjoy the pain, but do you feel like life has ever been better because of it than if you never had the pain? It's a really interesting question. I certainly wouldn't wish myself to live with the chronic pain. There's been a number of times that I've had to rebook appointments with close friends because I've had to stay in bed from being exceptionally weak. And there's times when the pain's out of control and it takes several days to regain control over it. What it's done for me, at least, is be grateful for the days when I'm not done by pain and I'm able to accomplish something. I do notice that when I'm able to accomplish something, I find it really rewarding. And then over time, I've had to face the weaknesses in my life and figured out how I'd let them challenge me. So when you're not able to, simply get up and do your laundry, you have to think about and be intentional about how you're going to handle this task. So a lot of the motions that people go through, in some ways, they've been refined because of facing the adversity that the pain causes me. Overall, I feel like I've benefited from it. I certainly enjoy life more now than before I had this set of challenges. It's taken a lot of working through and planning and figuring out new skills for coping with life to reach this point. But something I challenge you with, if you're just starting on your own journey, there is hope for you as you get into this, and there still is a life to be had after you get the bare essentials of life under control, where you're able to switch your focus to the things that bring you joy, like going out fishing or hanging out with friends. The fifth question is, how would you have seen your life if you haven't had the pain, and why is it better? It's another really interesting question. I was in the workforce and I enjoyed doing the outsource order desk job that I had. There was a lot involved with it of scheduling production, dealing with the billing component, and I enjoyed the challenge of this each day. But you can't bake time. And so 8 to 10 hours of each day, 5 or 6 days a week were passed. Well, that's what I was doing. With this, and having gone through the loss of my mobility, and then having had time to think through and figure out what I'm going to do with my life, I make the time count when I'm not in bed resting for my body. It took a lot for me to accept needing to be able to give extra time for rest. But without it, I get overtired, and then the stupid things get frustrating instead of, just being awake and enjoying life. So, I put a high focus on sleep. And then when I'm out of bed, I try to be focused on what I need to do each day, and then the time that I would spend doing the things like working on my wheelchair or a few of the projects that I've got on the go right now. So it's not to undermine the nitty-gritty that happens each day of our lives, but it's to be able to be engaged in the activities that are really rewarding and using the natural abilities and talents that we each have. The sixth question was, why would office work have been bad? And that's what I was doing before the loss of my mobility. It's not necessarily that it would have been bad, but your life is going to be spent one way or another. And either you're going to be intentional about it, or life is going to pass you by until you enter a retirement age, and then you only have a few years to pursue whatever it is that you're doing for your retirement. So being able to do what brings me a lot of joy now and finding joy from it has been important to me. in giving me the best quality of life that's possible. The seventh question was, how are you intentional about your day, and how does it enable you to enjoy life? I have an overall picture of what I'm aiming for over the next week or two at any one time. And in that list there's the essentials of life, meals, snacking food, house cleaning, and all the chores that come with keeping yourself alive. And then there's the few activities I'm going to do depending on how I'm feeling and how my body's doing on a given day. So it's about having an activity that I can do regardless of what's going on with my body. I also try to make time for spending some time with friends online, chatting each day, whether it be by email, instant messaging, video conferencing. I try to spend some time with people in the day because it's important that we do need that connection and we're not meant to be isolated. That interaction helps me thrive. I remember when I was transitioning into the loss of my mobility, there was a group that I was part of for people who had the same hip disease as me. I found it helpful posting to the group and having someone that could understand what was going on instead of the explanation and the medical part of it and then how it affects day-to-day life. I was just able to talk about what was going on, and having that support was important to me. And that may be one of your tools if you're on your own journey and just starting to think through how you're going to manage your life. The final question that I was asked is, how do you keep from getting to the place where the enjoyment of working on the things you like from getting overshadowed by the pain? So for me, the answer is having the time that I need to rest and then going to rest when I'm needing it. What messes me up the most is being overtired because it affects my ability to prioritize, and my response if something doesn't go well. In the February 2018 accountability video I've made for my Patreon sponsors, I've talked about several of the projects that I'm presently doing. A lot of these projects haven't gone as I'd hope on plan A, and I'd have to think through, this didn't work, what's going to be the replacement for it? So I don't do a good job of that when I'm tired, especially when I'm dealing with things involving electricity. I don't wire when I'm overtired. It's not safe, and you need to have respect for electricity. So it might be the same for you if you like drawing. You may find that you're not at your best if you're overtired when you're doing your artwork. I hope some of these questions have got you thinking in your life. I really do want nothing but the best for you. And I encourage you to be intentional about your life and to keep pressing forward, regardless of the speed bumps that do happen. There is a decent life to be had, even when our bodies aren't 100%. Thanks so much for this time that you've spent with me today. Bye for now.